This video is for educational purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised.
The comments in TikTok are different.
Because inside of it are organic life forms and they need air to live.
That is a person. I'm not even joking.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Here we go.
What the same script in 5 different voiceover styles sounds like? I guess you probably haven't, but here you go. In a world transformed by technology, our company leads the way. Embrace the future with our cutting-edge solutions designed to revolutionize how you work and connect. In a world transformed by technology, our company leads the way. Embrace the future with our cutting-edge solutions designed to revolutionize how you work and connect. In a world transformed by technology, our company leads the way. Embrace the future with our cutting-edge solutions designed to revolutionize how you work and connect. In a world transformed by technology, our company leads the way. Embrace the future with our cutting-edge solutions designed to revolutionize how you work and connect. In a world transformed by technology, our company leads the way. Embrace the future with our cutting-edge solutions designed to revolutionize how you work and connect.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey there, it's going great. How about you? I see you're rocking an OpenAI hoodie. Nice choice. What's up with that ceiling though? Are you in a cool industry-style office or something?
Well, can you take a guess at what I might be doing based on what I'm showing you here?
From what I can see, it looks like you're in some kind of recording or production setup. With those lights, tripods, and possibly a mic, it seems like you might be gearing up to shoot a video, or maybe even a live stream.
Yeah. In fact, we've got a new announcement to make.
That's exciting. Announcements are always a big deal. Judging by the setup, it looks like it's going to be quite the professional production. Is this announcement related to OpenAI, perhaps?
It is. And in fact, what if I were to say that you're related to the announcement, or that you are the announcement?
Me? The announcement is about me? Well, color me intrigued. Are you about to reveal something about AI? Or more specifically about me as a part of OpenAI? You've got me on the edge of my, well, I don't really have a seat, but you get the idea. What's the big news?
Yeah, we've got a new model that can interact with the world through audio, vision, and text.
This might be one of the most underrated discoveries in psychology, and nobody's really talking about it. It's called moral disengagement. This term was coined by Dr. Albert Bandura, who is a freaking genius. You might know Bandura from the Bobo doll experiment, where children who watched aggressive behavior on TV mimicked that aggressive behavior. His work led to the removal of violent children's shows from TV, despite networks trying to discredit his findings. Moral disengagement explains how people justify their actions by distancing themselves from the consequences. Bandura identified this concept by studying the death penalty. The process involves many people, each with a small role, in order to diffuse responsibility. One prepares the chair, another person straps the prisoner in, someone else monitors the equipment, one reads the final statement, and the final person administers the final injection. This division of tasks makes no one feel fully responsible for the death. But moral disengagement happens in everyday life too. Let me give you some examples. People will eat bacon without guilt because they were not the ones who killed the pig. They might think to themselves, what difference does it make? The pig is already dead. Another example would be using plastic products, believing that individual actions don't matter. Moral disengagement helps us understand how people can do certain things without feeling responsible. Moral disengagement also shows how small actions by each person can lead to disastrous outcomes. On the flip side, it might show how small positive actions can have an amazing impact on the world.
In 2018, 2 former Google employees left the company to build a new, better search engine. And you know what? They actually did it. Their site, Neva, had no ads. Instead, it focused on getting you actual results as quickly as possible. And almost everyone who tried it thought it was better than Google in every way. But when you're fighting against a monopolist, being the best isn't good enough. Neva found that Google's default position in almost every browser was so entrenched and powerful, it was impossible to get people to switch to or even try their search engine. And since they didn't have $15 billion to pay off Tim Cook, after a few years, they shut down, just another corpse buried in Google's basement. The internet was supposed to be the greatest source of information in the history of humankind, but Google's monopoly has created a world in which real sites that employ real journalists, real reviewers, and real experts shut down every day because they can't compete with the bullshit content farms that Google's algorithm promotes instead. And now that so-called artificial intelligence is about to flood the internet with even more dumbass spam, what is Google doing? They're jamming AI into the fucking search engine itself. So now, instead of just serving you the barf, Google's AI is going to ingest the barf for you, then barf it back at you in hopes that you'll swallow it down like some kind of vomit Ouroboros. I mean, what the fuck happened to Don't Be Evil? Did they just take that sign off the wall? Oh, yeah, they did. And then they shot that dude in the head.
Hey, where are you?
I'm on aisle 3.
Oh, aisle 3? Okay, yeah, give me a sec. I'm on aisle 7, so I'll just, like, meet you. Can you give me, like, a Dr. Pepper, please?
Hello.
Hey, where are you?
I'm on aisle 3.
Oh, aisle 3? Okay, yeah, give me a sec. I'm on aisle 7, so I'll just, like, meet you. Can you give me, like, a Dr. Pepper, please?
Sure.
You'll meet me on aisle 7?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm waiting to see you. I'm so excited to see you.
Hi, just crossed aisle 7. Where are you?
Oh, give me a second. I'll be right there. So I'm right here in the front. Yeah, I'm right here. Hey, how's it going? Hey, it's me. Hey, it's me. Hey, it's me. That's crazy.
5, 8, 10.
So there's this clip going viral online of a dozen women being asked the following question: do we need men? Most answered very quickly, no. So why do you think that is?
Because men are useless. Broadly speaking, I feel like men have proven largely useless. Like, I think at the political moment.
I mean, love it.
And by the way, I want to differentiate between straight men and gay men, because I think I would die without gay men.
Excuse me, the ABC network, which is hosting this show, would have canceled the show if it were a panel of men saying that women are useless. I see the producer right there. I wonder what you think about this one. Y'all would have called them misogynists, and the media would have destroyed the lives of those men. That's something to reflect on. And aside from that, everything you just said were emotional responses, but that's to be expected from a low IQ panel.
This is the most evil, the most disturbing, and the darkest episode we have ever released on The Sean Ryan Show. Ryan Montgomery, the #1 ranked ethical hacker in the world, has dedicated his life to hacking into these websites and exposing the predators who are preying on our children to the world that he's releasing. This is going to save a lot of kids, and I want you to share this with everybody you know. The public needs to be informed of this, and here's how the kids are going to be saved, because everybody says, oh, share my stuff, right? Here's how they'll be saved. Every parent that watches this will smarten up on what their kid's doing on the internet. Every kid that watches this is going to smarten up and become aware of how prevalent this stuff is on the internet. And every one of you predators that's watching this, it's going to put the fear of God into you, because when you're caught, you will be humiliated and hopefully in prison. That's how this is going to save these kids.
No, please, I'm asking a very simple question.
Right.
Don't complicate it. Does thought see the chaos it has created? That's all. Which means, is thought aware of itself as a movement?
Mm-hmm.
Not, I am aware of thought as a movement,
But you see,
which the I has been created by thought.
Right. So I think that a question which is relevant to that is, why does thought keep on going? You see, why does it sustain itself? You see, because as long as it sustains itself, it does produce something like an independent reality, not an illusion of one.
Why does thought?
Why does thought keep on going? You see,
what is
when
my
it's irrelevant.
relationship to thought?
You are thought. For the there is not you related to
But
thought.
that's the way when the language says there is one. It says that I am the entity who is doing who produces the thought. You see, which is to say, like say General Motors saying, I am the corporation which is producing automobiles. Do you see?
Right. Yeah, but look, right, you're right. How can I get it through? The question is, I say to you, what is my relationship to thought? You say to me, you are thought. You, in some way, what you say is clear, but that's still what's coming from me. Do you see? In other words, that's still the way thought is moving. To say it's my relationship to thought.
Well, that's the point, to say that can this very thought stop right now? Do you see?
Yes.
What is sustaining this whole thing at this very moment is the question I was trying to get at.
Yes, that's the question.
In other words, say we have a certain insight, but something happens to sustain the old process, nevertheless, right now.
That's right. Right now, thought keeps moving.
No, Dr. Baum asked a very good question, which we haven't answered. He said, why does thought move?
When it's irrelevant to you.
Why is it always moving?
That's right.
So what is movement? Movement is time. Right?
That's too quick. What are you doing? Movement is time.
Oh, of course.
But I think, that
movement is movement.
No.
That's
from
movement.
From here to there.
Right.
But
This is what about that?
Yeah.
Right.
From here to there.
Right.
Physically. From here to London, from here to New York,
right.
And also psychologically, from here to there.
Right.
I am this, I must be that.
Right. But if a thought is not necessarily all that.
Thought is the movement. We're examining movement, which is thought.
Thought.
Look, if thought stops, there is no movement.
Yeah, I know you. I'm trying to. This has to be made very clear.
So I think there's this kind of a step that might help. You see,
What is that?
I ask myself, you see, what is it that makes me go on thinking or talking? In other words, I often can watch people and see they're in a hole just because they keep on talking. If they would stop talking, the whole problem would vanish, right? I mean, it's just this flow of words that... So, because what they say then comes out as if it were reality into them, and then they say, that's my problem, it's real, and I've got to think some more. Do you see, I think there's a kind of a feedback saying, see, suppose I say, well, I've got a problem, I'm suffering, right?
You've got an eye, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you see, so therefore I have a sense I am real.
Right.
See, I'm thinking of my suffering, but there's implicit that it is I who is there.
Right.
And that the suffering is real because I am real.
Right.
And then comes the next thought, which is, since that is real, I must think some more.
Right.
Because if it were, that would be the case.
It feeds on itself.
Yeah, and then one of the things I must think is, what is my problem, which is that I am suffering. In other words, I'm compelled to keep on thinking that thought all the time. Do you see? And maintaining myself in existence. Do you see what I'm driving at? That there's a feedback.
Which means, if thought is movement, which is time, if there is no movement, I am dead. I am dead.
Yes, if that movement stops, then that sense that I am there being real must go, because that sense that I am real is the result of thinking, right?
Do you see, this is extraordinary?
Of course it is.
No, actually, in actuality, not in theory.
Right, right.
one realizes thought as movement.
Right.
Right?
Right.
There is not I realize thought as a movement. Thought itself realizes a movement.
Right.
It is in movement.
And in this movement, it creates an image of
me
who
or-
is supposed to be moving.
Yeah, yes.
Right.
Now, when that movement stops, there is no me.
Right.
The me is the time,
Right.
put together by time,
Right.
which is thought.
Right.
So, do you, listening to this, realize the truth of it? Not the verbal, logical statement, but the truth of such an amazing thing.
Let me show you in seconds how fucked the public school system is. So grade 9, you're starting to learn new skills. You're trying to learn new things that are going to help you in your life. Why don't they teach grade 9ers this formula in 30 seconds? Basically, in our world that we live in, there are 4 income quadrants. You can be an employee, you can be self-employed, you can be a business owner, or you can be an investor. Employees, this is how they groom people, because employees are the highest tax-paying humans on this planet, which actually fuels the people who created this system, who are teaching this system. It fuels their life, not yours. I was never an employee, so I was always self-employed, the next level. Well, I'll tell you guys, this is a problem too. And I was stuck here until I was 50 years old. So let's just go over them quickly. When you're an employee, you trade your time for money. You try to get paid the most amount of money and do the least amount of work, get the most holidays per year, and you end up being the highest paying taxed person on the planet. So self-employed, the next level is you're your own boss. You have no cap on your income because you're own boss. But what took me so long to realize, yeah, there was no cap on my income, and that's where I was blocked. But there was a cap on my time. And my time, I could not produce any more of the products and services that fueled my life until I was 50 years old. So self-employed, you sell products and services, but you're limited on your time on how many products and services you can sell. So it's still a trap. It's just a bit of a better trap, right? Now, the people who created this system, the elites, their kids, don't do any of these. Wealthy people, when I talk about wealthy and rich life, it's not just money. A rich life is whatever you think it is, whatever you would prefer to be doing every single day of your life is a rich life. Many people have different variations in what they call a rich life. And yes, it does include money. Absolutely, hands down, it's how we operate. So it is a big part of it, but it's not everything. See, when I was self-employed in my last gig, I had lots of money. I didn't have free time, which was one of the things that made me realize when I had a health scare that, hey, a rich life is not about money. And once I realized that, it was actually probably about 6 months later when I turned that $1 million business completely off and jumped over to here. This, guys, is where the wealthy people live. They're business owners and they're investors. So if I took a grade 9er and said, hey, these are the 4 income quadrants that you have a choice to be in, I would say, learn how to be a business owner. Once you're a business owner, now you're not limited by time and money because you have systems. See, you're selling products and services here as a self-employed person. But when you're a business owner, now you have systems and people and employees and operations that create income for you, right? So business owners create systems, self-employed people sell products and services. The huge shift right there. So if I was to show a grade 9 this chart, I would say jump to a business owner because now you're not limited. Now you can make way more money, and now you can jump into this because you increased it from there to there. And then the other half, throw it into investments. And this, guys, is how you create a rich lifestyle. What is programmed into us and all humans for decades is to be here and stay stuck, keep paying the system, high taxes, unhealthy people, unhappy people that keep them sedated, drugs and booze that the system peddles you and sells you and keeps you in a low vibration energy frequency that's associated with these two income quadrants. So why don't they teach this in school? Because that would crumble the whole fucking system and they wouldn't make any money off these human beings. Imagine if they took 2 minutes and showed this chart to every grade niner up leveling into high school, how the world would be different. Fact check that.
One great phrase I was always told is never dismiss any behavior as irrational until you understand what the person is trying to do. And it's important to remember this, that there are perfectly rational looking things which are actually stupid, and there are things which appear stupid which are actually clever. I was talking about one example the other day, which is the fact that people will pay more in a restaurant if the menu describes the carrots as Pembrokeshire carrots or Pembrokeshire potatoes than if the menu just says with potatoes. And people go, isn't that silly? People are basically paying for an adjective. Come to think of it, I don't think that's silly at all. I think what Pembrokeshire says is that our chef buys the vegetables, not our procurement department. And what the person is doing there is they're looking for clues that maybe the restaurant cares a little bit more about quality and customer satisfaction and repeat business than it does about short-term margin.
So this guy has an invention, and it's for restaurants. And he goes to these restaurants and says, hey, you want to buy this? It's my invention. They're like, that's stupid. He goes to another restaurant. Hey, I got this invention. You guys should buy some of these. And they go, that's stupid. We don't want that. So this guy hired a bunch of college students to go into these restaurants and then ask them, hey, do you guys have the product?
Oh, that's genius.
And they're like, Then he gave these guys the product and then had them go in and say, here's the product. You guys should try some of these. And so they did. And then the restaurant was like, yeah, we've actually had people asking us about these. We're going to buy some. He sent the guys again and said, buy every one of them they have. They said, hey, we sold out. We'll take some more. Toothpicks. Wooden toothpicks.
And then it blew up and became its own industry.
To the point where isn't that crazy?
The dark truth is that it's become very hard to find anyone, and certainly anything, more interesting than a smartphone. We love our phones and would never want to give them up, but we're all probably also gently aware that these delightful gadgets bear a hidden cost. To say that we are addicted to our phones is not merely to point out that we use them a lot, it signals a darker notion. That we use them to keep our own selves at bay. Because of our phones, we may find ourselves incapable of sitting alone in a room with our own thoughts floating freely in our heads, daring to wander into the past and the future, allowing ourselves to feel pain, desire, regret, and excitement. We are addicted to our phones not because we rely on them, but to the extent that we recruit them to a harmful project of self-avoidance. They don't mean to hurt us, but we may and probably do use them to injure ourselves. Addiction sounds horrible, but it's a hard name for a normal inclination, a habit of running away from the joys and terrors of self-knowledge. We can look up so much on our phones. We can, if we're inclined, check up the population of Lima, 8.73 million, who won the ladies' final at Wimbledon in 1997. Martina Hingis, the definition of tautology, saying the same thing twice, though in different ways. Or perhaps the author of that fascinating quote, what you survive makes you stronger, Nietzsche. Yet this constant resource has an unwitting, unfortunate side effect. We consult our phones rather than ourselves. It's not that we actually know so many obscure facts, it's that we already possess, in scattered, unpolished forms, the raw material from which a huge number of the very best insights and ideas could be formed, if only we gave them enough time and attention. Almost since the beginning of time, we have prized the opportunity to get away from reminders of humanity and to immerse ourselves in nature. We've wanted to gaze on the grey indifference of the ocean or the bright, incalculable immensity of the starry sky. But our phones are the enemies of such experiences. They keep intruding our small selves into the picture. We might be on the edge of the Grand Canyon. They are beeping in our back pockets. We may be gazing at the southern slopes of the Matterhorn. They are receiving updates for a food delivery app back home. They ask us never to forget our ego and the endless things that ail us. Without meaning to, they strip away the help that the grandeur of nature can offer us. We constantly use our phones to keep track of our appointments, but we are, if we think about it, quite constrained around the things to which we choose to be alerted. There's the automated reminder of the session with a dentist, the alert to jog our memories that it's our parents' anniversary, or the text message to let us know we're due to play a tennis match on Sunday afternoon. But there are other, very different appointments we need to keep in mind. We need reminders to keep appointments with ourselves. We need to spend time with our own worries, to understand them rather than just suffer the anxiety they create. The grandest and much the worst is our final appointment with death. We don't know how many days we have left to count down, but what we need reminding of is not the day and the hour, but the fact. Ideally, we'd get a message every morning. Memento homo quia pulvis es, et in pulverem reverteris. Remember you are made of dust and will be dust again. Our phones seem amazingly sophisticated, small miracles of compressed practical science working hand in hand with advanced capitalism. We think so highly of them because we compare them to the past rather than to the possibilities of the future. They are so much more advanced than any device we could have possessed 20 or 40 years ago. Yet our phones are almost unbearably primitive in comparison with what, ideally, the long future will bring. We are still so far from inventing the technology we really require for us to flourish. Capitalism has delivered only on the simplest of our needs. We can summon up the street map of Lyon, but not a diagram of what our partner is really thinking and feeling. The phone will help us follow 15 news outlets, but not help us to know when we've spent more than enough time doing so. It emphatically refuses to distinguish between the most profound needs of our soul and a passing fancy. In the utopia, our phones will be wiser than we are. They will be kind and not merely subservient. They will know how to edge us away from a stupid decision and how to summon up our better natures. We deserve pity for having been born in such primitive times.
Hey, if you're still here, please do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe button so this video gets recommended to other people. Let's go back to the videos.
Tips from the ER. Vaping. Vaping is the healthiest way to deliver nicotine into your body. Sure. Did you know that way back in the day when cigarettes first came out, they were being advertised as healthy for you? Yeah, it was the easiest way to sell nicotine and make money. Doctors everywhere were going, got a headache? Smoke a cigarette. Stomachache? You should smoke a cigarette. Cough, sore throat? You should definitely smoke some cigarettes. It wasn't until 50 years later that people finally started to believe cigarettes could kill. And that's because by then, enough dead bodies had piled up for researchers to cut open and say, hey, look at that. They all died from the same thing. 50 years. Vaping is only 20 years old. Still a baby. Not enough dead bodies to provide any significant data. But I bet you in 30 years there will be, because that dead body is going to be yours. If you think inhaling anything but good quality air into your lungs is healthy for you, you are one dumb motherfucker.
Yo, this is true? This is crazy. What's interesting is if you go back to the original Hebrew that the Old Testament was written in, there's more than one word for sin. There's something used called iniquity. There's something that's translated transgression. The word iniquity is really interesting because in the original Hebrew, it breaks up into these three letters, a vav, a bet, and a nun. A vav is an eye being opened. Bet is a fish hook or a hook, and then a nun is the idea of like multiplying or fish multiplying. And so the word iniquity really pictorially means whatever your eye hooks into will multiply in your life. And so if you realize that what you set your vision to, your affection to, whatever you hook your appetite into, that's going to grow in your life. Well, now it's not so much about this behavior is bad and this behavior is wrong, that you need to understand you're responsible, that for whatever grows in your life and multiplies is based off where you focused your affections.
I think a simpler way of thinking about it is that you and I will become like that which we behold. If you're beholding junk, you don't think it's going to affect your life, but if you're beholding the glory of God, you better believe it's going to transform you.
I tell you another story, and this is also real life. In America, there is a very beautiful, there's a wonderful teacher called Greg Braden. He's written many books. He's a scientist, studies physics, and he is also a metaphysical, guy and teacher. So I call him a metaphysicist. And he's written a lot of books which combine quantum physics with spiritual wisdom. So it happened in his life. And he talked about it, so that's why I remember, so you know it's true when someone who's real tells you. And he had this friend who was a Native American Indian. So not Indian like me, Native American Indian, right? We are all brothers after all. So he had this friend, Native American Indian, and one day his friend calls him because that Indian knows that Greg Braden is a metaphysical guy. So he calls him and he says, listen, my people have been suffering because there's not enough rain. Talking about rain, so you see the story came back. He says, my people have been suffering, so there's not enough rain, so I'm going to make a prayer. Would you like to accompany me for my ceremony? So Greg Braden gets very excited because he's been studying all these ancient cultures and prayers and everything. So now he's been given an opportunity to go with this Native American Indian to see his ceremony for prayer. So he says, yes, I'm going to come, and when are we doing it? What are we doing? And what do I have to prepare? He said, no, don't prepare anything. You don't have to do anything. I'll do everything. But meet me on so-and-so day at so-and-so time. And we'll go to this special place where our elders have always prayed, and we'll make a prayer there. So you come prepared. So Greg Braden, all very excited, he comes on the day, he drives up in his car and everything, and this Indian is waiting for him, alone, by himself. Greg thought that there's going to be a whole bunch of people here, in special uniforms and dresses and music and all sorts of things, but there's one guy. And they're in the middle of the Arizona desert, because that's where these people used to live for, centuries. So he says, are we going to make the prayer? Yes, come with me. So the two of them, they walk up a little hill in that desert, and they come to a space which is a very beautiful space. It's a little on top of a hill, surrounded by rocks, and on one side you can see the sun coming up, on the other side this clear sky, and there's this circle of stones over there. So the Indian tells him that this is a very sacred place because for many centuries, many generations, my people have prayed here. This is where we connect. So Greg says, all right. So the Indian tells him, okay, now it's time for me to pray. So you can sit on the side and just, support the energy that I am giving out. So be a part of it, be willing, be open, be receptive. We'll pray. So this Indian stands in the middle of the circle. Greg is on the side. He closes his eyes. But he closes his eyes and he's looking at what the Indian is doing because that's what he came to see, right? That's why he writes about the story. Otherwise, how would he know? So he stands over there. He's looking at the Indian. This Indian goes in the middle of a circle. He looks up at the sky and he puts his hands up and then he starts talking to the spirits, In his own language, he starts talking to the spirits of the sky and the birds and the eagles and this and that and nature and earth and the sun and the moon and the wind. And he says, thank you. Thank you for giving us rain. Thank you. Thank you for giving us rain. He puts his hands down, closes his eyes for a minute, looks at Greg, and he says, let's go. So, it's only been 1 minute. Greg says, what about the ceremony? He says, that was it. That was it. The message has gone. We'll get rain. So they turn around and they go back. Greg can't believe it. This is not how prayer is supposed to be, right? This is not what he's been taught. The Indian walks away, never talks about it again, never thinks about it again. Guess what? In 2 days there's rain in that area. So Greg can't believe it. He talks to the Indian again. He says, what did you do? What was the whole philosophy basis? What did you do there? And the Indian tells them, look, we made a prayer, right? But you see, if I go there, and if I'm pleading and I'm asking, then I'm already implying that I don't have it yet, right? He said the universe and our gods listen to what is inside us and make that real. If I go there and ask, please give me rain, I'm also saying I don't have it. That is what my state was earlier. I did not have it. So I am saying, give me more of the same. I will not have it. What we have learned from our elders is whenever you go into that place of prayer, you must create what you want to see within you and give thanks for it. So he said, I went there, I connected with all the elements of nature which are our gods, because that's what the Indians, the American Indians believed, all the elements of nature. And once I connected with them, I gave thanks for the rain which was already mine. It was already in my life and it was already mine. And I gave thanks and I concluded the deal and I walked away. And I knew they had heard, because nature always hears, and I had no doubt in my mind we'll have rain. So we had rain. That day Greg learned a great lesson, which he wrote about later. He said, for years I had been talking and writing in my books and in my lectures that this universe is a field, because quantum physics talks about this field, you see. He said, I had been talking and writing and, teaching people that we are living in this field which is alive and which is simply in a way reflecting us. But that day I saw it in action. That day with this Indian who had never read quantum physics, I saw it in action. His prayer was so effective because he went there and he created what he wanted outside, inside. He created it inside first and it happened on the outside. So that's a secret we have to pick up and take away. See, whenever you pray, pray as if you already have what you're asking for. Don't pray like you don't have it. Pray as if it's already yours. Pray as if you know it's coming. It's on the way. It's here now. Don't say, give me, give me, give me. Say, thank you for giving me. See the difference? Can you see the difference or not? Whatever you want. I mean, of course you're allowed to want. We are people of desire. Who doesn't have desire, yeah? And if you say you don't, you're lying, okay? So you don't pray if you're inauthentic. Everyone has desire. Desires are natural. You're allowed to ask. But don't ask like a beggar. Is a beggar's prayer powerful?
3, 2, 1. Hello, I am David Nussbaum, the founder of Proto Hologram. Proto is a holographic spatial computing device company that allows for the real-time communication from anybody to anybody else in real time, whether they can physically be there or not. Proto technology also has an AI component to it that allows for translation of any language. Hundreds of languages are in our system. You can speak any language to anyone at any time, and it can be unlimited. So teachers are beaming into schools right now. Teachers are giving lectures on stages and in classrooms around the world. In some places, there are such rural locations that students are struggling to learn. And so what we've done is we've given the best minds from around the world, the greatest teachers and educators and professors, we've given them the near supernatural ability to be in their homes or in their offices in major cities and then beam into the most remote and rural locations where children are struggling to learn and educating them remotely. This is better than a Zoom. This is better than a TV or any other flat digital display because it looks like you're actually there. And when somebody appears like they're there, the engagement level, the interactivity, the emotional and physical response and connection exists. And when a person is physically in the room with you, rather than just shoulders up on a flat two-dimensional motionless display, there's a level of trust and honesty that comes along with that. So instead of students sitting back in their chairs and just watching something on a movie screen, they're sitting on the edges of their seats, really, really engaged with the content that's happening before them. And that's just education. Think about retail locations, think about hospitals, healthcare, hospitality. Right now, we just announced, and we've already started installing proto-hologram technology in a bunch of hotels, including the Four Seasons. So we can beam concierge service live and AI versions of concierge into some of the guest suites and the presidential suites. So holograms are here. This is the technology that's bringing it into the world. And I ask that you follow this account and start looking at some of our other videos. I've recently posted videos about artificial intelligence, multilingual artificial intelligence, and there's videos of Howie Mandel speaking Japanese, for example. And then there's also videos showing live holoportation. Live holoportation, something that you really were only able to see in television shows like Black Mirror and Star Trek, are now actually being done in real life by Proto. The shadows are real, the reflections are real, it looks like I'm physically standing inside of this device. Anyway, this has been great. I'm going to come right back. More to come.
All right. Live holoportation.
I saw that video showing the comments in TikTok are different.
Exactly. I think it's Instagram. I was doing it with her boyfriend, and they were both looking at the same thing, but they had different comments.
Yeah.
Comments were mocking the man, and the comments on his side was mocking the woman.
Yes. Whenever I'm looking at comments, I make the idiot mistake of thinking this represents some consensus that, you know, but actually, no, you're just looking at the algorithm serving the comments and the content. That is so up.
The comments are supposed to be a conversation about the thing. So if you're curating the conversation in an unnatural way, like that's very different than showing me what I want to see.
Yes.
Because now you're changing the dynamics of how things are discussed.
Yes, sir. That's the evil right there. That's the evil.
That's crazy.
The other assumption with the algorithm is that the algorithm is just like random, or it's using some set of variables and serving things up. But this is an idiot assumption. I mean, you could, if you are controlling comments, then that means like, all right, let's just like make people mad at each other. Let's make people completely pissed at each other as much as possible. Convey this idea that there's like these massive divides between us, and then they're gonna fight each other instead of recognizing they're pretty much the same.
It also doesn't have any windows. Those aren't windows, those are vents to circulate air. And that's because inside of it are organic life forms, and they need air to live, we think. And even though the building is in such a highly prominent part of Lower Manhattan, we really don't know much about it. But we know that it's owned by AT&T. We know the address because it's written on the side of the building. The architectural style used here is called brutalism, and legend has it that a long time ago it was a telephone switching center for long-distance phone calls.
It's the Men in Black headquarters. I've definitely heard that there's maybe some secret government stuff in there.
I think that's pretty much a guarantee. Look at it. It's like an impenetrable fortress. There's this massive retaining wall. There's cameras everywhere. And it's kind of eerie. Like, it's so big and there's no people. There's like nothing going on here. And they don't give tours. Why can't I have a tour? This is the fenced off parking lot out back. Got some AT&T trucks. This has been described as one of the most secure buildings in America, and that's where the conspiracies start. Why is it so big? Why is it so weird? Why is it so secure?
It may be the only skyscraper in New York City built to withstand a nuclear blast. There's reportedly enough food, water, and generator fuel to sustain 1,500 people for 2 weeks.
So I guess you could say it's like a huge doomsday bunker. Now, obviously, it's got some sort of basement. That's why these cars are able to drive in there. But most of the building is what you see right here. And if there's an earthquake or some disaster in New York, this might be the last building standing. Could it be some sort of modern day Noah's Ark for elites? And the fact that it holds 1,500 people, food, supplies, water, necessities, that's insane. Weird, the facade here is kind of crumbling a little bit. I guess that's not as resilient as the superstructure. And look at this grand entrance that it has. It's almost like it was designed for masses of people to be walking in and out as they go to do things. Like it's not supposed to be a big secret, yet it is a big secret. And apparently the ceilings inside here are 18 feet tall, and the floors can hold 300 pounds of force per square foot. So you could move really heavy, large things around in there. And check this out, right on Wikipedia, it basically says it's probably the location of a National Security Agency mass surveillance hub. Maybe that's why it's so tall. There could be antennas, there could be all kinds of stuff in there, picking up signals, sending out signals, who knows. I also love how pretty much every car out front has, you know, the little antenna, super dark window tint so you can't see in. But if you think about it, a massive building with no windows and tons of security everywhere and nobody coming in and out, this is the perfect place to hide and do things that you really want to keep a secret.
Because you people and 62 million other Americans are listening to me right now. Because less than 3% of you people read books. Because less than 15% of you read newspapers. Because the only truth you know is what you get over this tube. Right now, there is an entire generation that never knew anything that didn't come out of this tube. This tube is the gospel, the ultimate revelation. This tube can make or break presidents, popes, prime ministers. This tube is the most awesome goddamn force in the whole godless world. And woe is us if it ever falls into the hands of the wrong people. And that's why woe is us that Edward George Ruddy died. Because this company is now in the hands of CCA, the Communication Corporation of America. There's a new chairman of the board, a man called Frank Hackett, sitting in Mr. Ruddy's office on the 20th floor. And when the 12th largest company in the world controls the most awesome goddamn propaganda force in the whole godless world, who knows what shit will be peddled for truth on this network. So you listen to me. Listen to me. Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So if you want the truth, go to God. Go to your gurus. Go to yourself. Because that's the only place you're ever going to find any real truth. Man, you're never going to get any truth from us. We'll tell you anything you want to hear. We lie like hell. We'll tell you that Kojak always gets the killer and that nobody ever gets cancer in Archie Bunker's house. And no matter how much trouble the hero is in, don't worry, just look at your watch. At the end of the hour, he's going to win. We'll tell you any shit you want to hear. We deal in illusions, man. None of it is true. But you people sit there day after day, night after night, all ages, colors, creeds. We're all you know. You're beginning to believe the illusions we're spinning here. You're beginning to think that the tube is reality and that your own lives are unreal. You do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like the tube. You eat like the tube. You raise your children like the tube. You even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion.
I want to show you something. This is really cool. So, how many you got here?
6.
And here?
6.
And here?
6.
And here?
6.
All right. And here?
4.
4. Okay. You ready? Okay. How many?
6.
How many?
6.
How many?
6.
And how many?
6.
Okay. How many?
6.
How many?
6.
How many?
6. 6.
Okay. How many?
6.
How many?
6.
How many?
6.
And how many?
6.
Okay. How many?
6.
How many?
6.
How many?
6.
How many?
6.
And how many?
0.
Where'd they go?
I don't know.
Secretly recording everything for 30 years. Meet Marion Stokes. In 1979, Marion began recording TV 24/7, capturing sitcoms, news, and everything in between. She was determined to preserve television history that networks were constantly erasing to save money and free up storage space. As a former librarian and activist, Marion was passionate about access to information.
Those in power are able to write their own history.
She sometimes had as many as 8 tapes spinning away at once, even getting her family in on the act. We'd be out at dinner and we'd have to rush home to swap tapes, recalled her son Michael. By the time she passed away in 2012, Marion had amassed about 71,000 tapes, the only comprehensive collection preserving this period in television media history. Now, the Internet Archive is digitizing her incredible work to make it publicly available. Marion's vision of universal access to knowledge will finally be realized, thanks to her tireless effort of...
There does seem to be some kind of a massive cover-up of something. The earliest pictures we have of like these big cities are like from like the 1850s, and they're these massive cities, and they look very similar than they do today, actually, except for more grain-looking, massive buildings, and there's like hardly any people out on the streets, like nobody. And sometimes, in many cases, it looks like muddy streets, and it's like, okay, so where are all the people at? It's very odd to have a giant city like that with no people. And then when you start to see people later in, like, sometimes you have these early videos of like these cities like Paris and London, and all the people are dressed really nice, like dressed to the nines, like aristocrat looking people. And then you're like, that there's just something so off about this. Like I can't really kind of put my finger on it, but something's really off. And then you start to see the orphan train thing, and you're like, okay, so wait a minute, these things have to be related. And that's why I started to make the connections, like, wait a minute, the people who are dressed like that were not working in factories, right? They weren't working in fields, they weren't working in factories. These people look very rich. So maybe the pictures with nobody in them in these big cities, maybe the orphan trains were related to the fact that they needed people to go work in the factories. And then if you go look in more old pictures, kids working in factories, kids working in fields, kids doing all these random jobs. And then you see the insane asylums. Okay, so between like 1860 and 1929 in America, there's 250,000 kids on orphan trains. Again, the population is much bigger now. That number is huge now. It's way bigger then. And then there was 150,000 people in insane asylums. Okay, so the math actually makes sense, like that, were these the parents of these kids? And then the kids get shipped all around the world, all around the country, at least here, and I know it was a worldwide thing. And then you see like the things. So there's like 0 insane asylums now. There was like 1,500 of them in like 1900. There's like 0 orphanages now. Like all these things that are just, they don't have them anymore. And if you go look at the buildings that were prisons, orphanages, and insane asylums, and they're all these massive castle-style looking buildings. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
It seems very clear that, to me at this point, that those buildings were repurposed. Because you would not build a castle and then turn it into a prison. You would not build a castle and then turn it into a insane asylum or an orphanage. Because they don't look like that. Like, why would you spend that much money doing that unless it was already there and they needed use for it, and that's what they chose to use it for? If you believe kind of the mud flood story, and even if you don't believe, if you're not a Christian, you don't believe in the whole little season idea, you have to believe that the controllers, or whoever you want to call them, literally burned cities down, murdered people, threw people into insane asylums to hide stuff. They literally burned down the best buildings you've ever seen, that we've never seen, I guess now. You know, the best buildings ever created in order to hide something. So what could they be hiding? I think what seems very clear and obvious, it's something you could not even imagine. Like, it's bigger than you can even imagine. Because that's the only reason people would do that, right? Am I wrong? I mean, like, you're talking about a worldwide thing that this happened in order to cover up something. And the history books don't write about the reason for all the mud. They don't write about all this stuff.
Yeah, there's nothing deeper. This is like the very bottom of the rabbit hole. There's nothing deeper than Little Season, than what happened in the 1800s and 90s. There's nothing deeper than this, because this explains everything.
is so funny. So there's this Chinese waterfall. It's the tallest one in China. So there was a hiker that was going around. He's going to the top of the waterfall. He goes over to the edge and he takes a closer look and he sees something. What happens to be not a natural river, but a pipe full of water. What? The only thing that's leading water down that mountain is a huge pipe gushing millions of water per second.
Is it artificial?
They say this is just during the dry season, but they're looking back and everything and they're saying no. There's no marks of rainwater running off. That's what they're saying, but it's just huge news now and the Chinese government's trying to cover their butts.
So it's a fake waterfall?
It's a fake waterfall. They've done it for tourism because there's a ton of money that they get in for tourism from it. So
that is so funny.
The sole purpose is just for the waterfall. There's no
No, that's it. Purely a tourist attraction. And so it's just like, oh, that stinks. But that's what happens with Ruby Falls in Chattanooga too. They have that cave that like it dried up. It used to be a waterfall, but now it's all, they still have it running, but
they pump in water?
It's all artificial.
I went there when I was in 6th grade.
You've been lied to.
You have to watch this. Pay very, very close attention. This is an absolute masterclass. Watch this. Pay very, very close. You have to watch this. Pay very, very close attention. This is an absolute masterclass in media, manipulation, objectivity, journalism, the truth, everything that affects our country. This is Tucker Carlson in Australia answering a reporter's question. Check this out.
Address today. So you talked a little bit about immigration, and in the past you've talked about how white Australians, Americans, Europeans are being replaced by non-white immigrants in what is often referred to as the Great Replacement Theory. This is the same.
Have I said that whites are being replaced?
Well,
I don't think I said that.
well, it's been mentioned on your show 4,000 times, and
Really, when did I say that?
on your
I said
show,
whites are being replaced?
You have said that before.
Really?
Yeah.
I would challenge you to cite that because I'm pretty sure I haven't said that. I said
I mean-
native-born Americans are being replaced, including blacks.
Native-born Americans.
Native-born Americans.
And
Americans who, like black Americans, have been African Americans, have been in the United States for, in many cases, their families over 400 years. And their concerns are every bit as real and valid and alive to me as the concerns of white people whose families have been there 400 years. So I've never said that whites are being replaced. Not one time. And
I
you can't
believe
cite
that's
it.
untrue.
So we just met, but when our relationship starts with a lie, it makes it tough to be friends. So
well,
let's,
I mean, you've been lying
let's
about
pull
my
that back.
press
I'm
gallery
happy to
colleagues
explain
all
what I
morning
do
as well,
think.
So,
Well, you actually can't say it because I didn't say it, and I don't believe it, and I'm telling you that to your face, so why don't you just accept me at face value? My
because it's
concern
not
is
true.
that the people who are born in the country are the main responsibility of its leaders. And as noted earlier, when those leaders shift their concern from the people whose responsibility it is to take care of to people around the world to put their priorities above that of their own citizens, that's immoral. And they are being replaced in my country, people who are born in the United States. And the birth rate tells the whole story. They are not at replacement rate. And so the U.S. population is growing because we're importing people from other countries. And my view is that happy people have children, and a functioning economy allows them to do that. And we don't have that. And so you need to fix the economy and fix the culture and make it so that people who want to have kids can. You don't just go for the quick sugar fix of importing new people. Like, that's my position. And if you think that's racist, that's your problem.
I never called you a racist.
But of course you are suggesting, and
Well,
I
you're
must say
also
one of the
suggesting that
reasons
white
people don't like people like you in the media is that you never say exactly what you mean. Your slurs are all by implication, and you're about to tell me the Great Replacement Theory is racist or anti-Semitic, whatever. I've said what I've said to you right now like 100 times in public. I hope to, if I live long enough, say it 100 more times. I think it's completely honest and real, not racist or scary. It's factually true. It's not a theory. It's a fact. And the whole point of your question was to be like, you're a scary racist.
Well, I haven't
And
actually
my
finished my
response is, no,
question.
I'm not. Okay, well, how about no more lying in your questions, and then I'll answer it.
Okay. Well, this is the same theory, or as you say, idea, that has inspired the New York Buffalo shooting where 11 black Americans were killed.
on.
Two
You know what
white
I mean?
Americans were killed.
Like,
And it's also
okay,
inspired.
it's not. First of all,
it's inspired the worst, one of the worst Australian guns
how do
of
they
all
get
time
people
to
this
shoot
stupid in the media? I guess it doesn't pay well. Look, I'm sorry. I've lived among people like you for too long, and I don't mean to call you stupid. Maybe you're just pretending to be, but I'm totally against violence. I'm totally against the war in Ukraine, for example, which doubtless you support. And like all dutiful liberals, support more carnage. I don't. I hate mass shootings, actually. Nothing I said, what does it mean to inspire something? My views are not bigoted against any group. They're honest. They're factual. That's not hate. That's reality. And my views derive from my deep concern for Americans, actually. Americans aren't having kids because they can't afford to. And nobody in charge cares. And so that's my position. That doesn't inspire mass shootings. How dare you try to tie me to some lunatic who murdered people? How dare you, actually? And in fact, I mean, do you know what I mean? I'd be like, Hitler wore those shoes. A lot of people are saying that you're like Hitler. Can you explain those shoes? Hitler wore exactly the same shoes, and you're like, I've got nothing to do with Hitler. Well, that's how I feel about your absurd, disingenuous question.
Right, so therefore you support gun control?
What? I thought it couldn't get dumber, but it did. No, I don't support disarming law-abiding people so they can't defend themselves. So the government has a monopoly on violence? I don't think so. First of all, in my country, that's illegal, as you know. But moreover, it should be illegal in every country. A sovereign person has the right to defend himself and his family. Period. And that said, I'm totally opposed to harming anyone. Have you been calling? Are you concerned about the war in Ukraine? And the countless innocents being murdered there every single day? I doubt you are. Probably Putin bad. I am. I'm a Christian. I hate violence. I hate mass shootings. I have guns at home and often on my person when I'm in the United States, I'm proud to say, because I want to defend myself and those I love against violence. That's the point. I'm not perpetrating crimes. I'm not shooting strangers. I'm defending what I love. And if you're against that, I guess I would ask why. Why would you be against that?
Well, so you don't think you harbor any kind of responsibility for these hate crimes?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to be charitable. I was like, maybe you're just pretending to be dumb. Now I don't think it's an act.
Tucker, thank you for taking those questions. I'm sure you enjoyed some
Actually, I
questions from the
loved it.
press.
I just feel sorry. I mean, because I got here and the country's so unbelievably beautiful and the people are so cheerful and funny and cool and smart. I'm like, your media's got to be better than ours. It can't just be a bunch of castrated robots reading questions from the boss. And then it turns out it's exactly the same, maybe even a tiny bit dumber.
Castrated robots reading the script from the boss. Does that sound familiar, anybody?
Can we just all agree to leave animals alone? Like, is that something we can all collectively do, or do we just need to take fucking selfies with animals? Is that just a thing? Like, we can all hear how stressed out the animal is, right? It's actually pretty fucking disgusting. I understand if you're in the middle of fucking nowhere, you happen to encroach on a bear or a fucking deer. I get that. But sunbathing next to those? Why? Why do you need to do that?
Oh my god. You can, there you go. There's your shot. Oh my god, people.
Please bite one of them. Please bite one of them.
Oh my god. Where is he? I want to see him.
As a parent, you'd have to kind of feel the same way, wouldn't you? You'd want to protect your child. No different than what they're doing. Under these circumstances, you'd think humans would have a little bit more common sense. They don't.
So if every culture in the world that we know about, who's left any kind of written or physical record, is reaching the same conclusions about something, maybe there's something there. I would bet my house on it. At least some of it is. I mean, I'm sure some of it's like advanced technology that we possess. The U.S. government clearly does possess a lot of technology that is not publicly known about or available or only in fragments. I mean, that's clearly true. There are other things that are clearly not, that baffle the U.S. government. Here's what I'm really surprised by, and I've actually stopped gathering string on, as we say in reporting, stopped gathering string in this, gathering information, because I'm satisfied that I know enough and I don't really want to know that much more. Because what I think I know is, this doesn't help me at all to know that. So that's the conclusion I've reached. I'm usually pretty curious. I've stopped being curious about this because I don't want to know anymore. But
you truly don't want to know anymore about it.
I think I know. I think I know what's up. So I can't prove it, so probably not going to articulate it, but I think I know what's up, yeah.
Prince Charles is the main heir of Count Dracula? I know, I agree. That sounds insane. I bet you $1 million.
Bring that up, Jamie.
Type in Prince Charles, Count Dracula.
Okay.
Prince Charles is the heir of Count Dracula.
Is that right?
He moved in 5 years ago to Count Dracula's castle, and he lives with a group of homeless children in it.
No, he does not.
I swear to God.
Prince Charles. Prince Harry's dad.
Prince Charles, the heir of the throne of the dragon,
Okay.
is a Transylvanian
According
prince.
to this Google search from express.co.uk, Prince Charles has distant kinship to Vlad Tepes, the 15th century Wakalyan ruler, whom the Irish novelist based his Dracula.
Hold on. Prince Charles, like the one that we all know. Prince Charles.
Yeah, he's related to Count Dracula. Or Dracula.
Same.
But it's way worse than that.
And now
he lives in Dracula Castle with children.
According to express.com.
I swear to God.
He lives with.
You will
That's
beat my-
also on
I think it's
Express.com.
According to this British tabloid.
You get 5 punches right in the nose. Why? He lives, it says, with the orphans in the castle.
Prince Charles?
Pull up Prince Charles, Dracula Castle.
That's how you do a Google search. My
Yeah.
God. You just cut your shit in
This
half.
guy's good at Googling.
Prince Charles, Dracula Castle. Look it up, Jamie.
Okay. According
Everyone's going to do this. You're going to find out my line. And I remember like 10 years ago, finally, he's like, I live in the castle. Little boys, he's like, I live in the castle. It's like Dracula Castle on a mountain, like you saw in the movies.
Is that why they say Andrew's the pedophile to distract from Charles?
Prince Andrew. Don't
Prince Andrew.
point at me and say
What are you doing? You are crazy, dude.
Yo, you right. My bad. I ain't
So, wait a minute. Now you really got me onto some shit. The worse things that you do, the more interconnected you are with these interdimensional beings.
You have to commit these crimes against humanity to prove your cred with them.
Why do you have to prove your cred in that way?
Because they're damn demons.
Like I said, disturbing, but you will be shell-shocked with the stats. If you get value from the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Let me get right into it. The U.S. has the highest rate of children living in a single-parent household of any nation in the world. About 80% of single-parent homes are led by single mothers, at a rate of 23% of children living with one parent and no other adult. The United States stands over 3 times the world average of 7% of children raised by one parent. For reference, the number stands at 3% in China, 4% in India. This is not an area we want to be competing with other countries, by the way. If there is a statistic to not be competing in, this is one of the statistics. China's at 3, India's at 4, the world's at 7. We're at 23% in America, 0 bragging rights. This is the stat everybody wants to hide. And this is the stats where the side effects of this we ain't going to see for 2 decades or 3 decades or longer. Takes a while to see the side effects. Let me continue. Even for children with a father present in the home, the average school-age boy only spends about 30 minutes per week with one-on-one conversations with his father. For comparison, the same boy, on average, will spend about 44 hours a week watching television, playing video games, and surfing the internet. In our house, there is no video games throughout the week. It's on the weekends after you read 150 pages throughout the week. Then you have the right to play video games for an hour or 2 on the weekend. And that's what you have to earn. You have to move your body. You have to exercise. There's certain things you need to do to get to that point. That's our household. But the stat tells you 44 hours a week of watching TV, playing video games, and surfing the internet. Let me continue. 90% of all homeless and runaway children, 63% of teen suicides, 85% of children and teens with behavior disorders come from fatherless homes. Let me read that stat to you one more time. 90% of all homeless and runaway children, 63% of all teen suicide, 85% of children and teens with behavioral disorder come from fatherless homes. That is a very, very big number. Next, fatherlessness likewise has a direct link to teen pregnancy and sexual activity. Roughly 70% of teenage pregnancies come from women raised in a fatherless home. 70% of teenage pregnancies comes from fatherless homes. 70%. That's a big number. And these same women have significantly higher abortion rates than women raised by both a father and a mother. On the whole, fatherless kids are 20 times more likely to be incarcerated and 11 times more likely to exhibit violent behavior than children from 2-parent household. 20 times more, okay? 20 times more. If a man and a wife raise a child, they're less likely to end up in jail, but they have the same chances as children raised by just their father. You may already be blown away by the stats before, so maybe come back and let me read this to you and brace for impact if you missed it. Let me read it one more time. Listen. Just stay with me. Don't get distracted. Stay with me. Listen. If a man and a wife raise a child, they're less likely to end up in jail, but they have the same chance as children raised by just their fathers. The husband and wife raise their kid. The chance of this kid going to jail is the same as just the father raising his kids. The problem is the single mother without a father in the picture.
A couple of questions. I'm going to do something. What I'd like you to do is hold out your hand like this. All right? Now I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Now I would like you to look at that. I want you to see what that is. I don't want anybody to say anything. I'm going to put it in Nino's hand. You just close your eyes, Nino. I'm going to put this in your hand, and I want you to feel it. Close your hand and feel it. Now, Nino, tell me what that is.
It feels like a piece of metal.
Well, move your fingers around it and tell me what kind of a metal. What would you use that for?
I would imagine to open the door.
To open a door. What do you call a piece of metal that opens the door?
A key.
This guy's a real ham, and he put him in front of a camera, and I'm telling you, he'll take it away. You guessed it right, Nino. You win one of our cassette tapes. That is a key. All right? Now, what happened there? Let's stop and think what happened. Nino has sensory factors. He can hear, see, smell, taste, and touch. And when your sensory factor touch comes in contact with something, a light message is sent through a nerve passageway in your body. It strikes a group of cells in your brain. Those brain cells are activated, and the picture that's in the cells flash on the screen of the mind. So although Nino was not looking at this, which is a sensory factor, and it'll work that way too, he was touching the key, and that triggered the image on the screen of his mind.
This is why you should always change your locks. In 2017, a college girl woke up from a nightmare drenched in sweat and decided to rinse off before going back to sleep. She propped her phone on a shelf, turned on some music, and then hopped in the shower. A few minutes later, she reaches for her phone to change the song, but stops suddenly. Reflected on her phone's screen was a person standing in the middle of her bathroom facing the shower. She somehow kept her composure, turned the water to scalding hot, and then ripped open the curtain and sprayed the intruder in the face. As they howled in pain, she ran past them to her kitchen to get her butcher's knife. In a panic, she can't find her knife, so she just runs out of the apartment and calls the police. The police go in and come out with a crazy-looking woman in handcuffs. One of the officers comes over to the girl and says she used to live here and she had copies of your keys. Then he pauses and looks down and brings up a clear evidence bag that contained her butcher's knife, and he says, "Looks like she wanted her apartment back."
There's something terrifying going on at Chuck E. Cheese right now, and I'm going to explain it to you. So we all know about the game Five Nights at Freddy's, right? It's a game based around a restaurant that's pretty much like a Chuck E. Cheese where the animatronics come to life and wreak havoc on all the guests there. But what if I told you this was possibly happening in real life right now? Just 2 days ago, 5 children have gone missing inside of a Chuck E. Cheese, and the parents reported a weird smell from the inside of the building. And then just like Five Nights at Freddy's, someone that worked the late night shift actually got killed after hours. Now these are all pretty weird, but here's the kicker right here. Check out this headline. Night shift workers from Chuck E. Cheese claim strange movement from animatronics post hours. So I don't know, what do you think about this? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's fake? And I mean, with 2020 and everything going on, like, I wouldn't be shocked if it was real.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew, Part 1. When creating the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland, they couldn't create skeletons that looked realistic enough, so they used real human skeletons. Since then, they've removed all but one. Ducks sometimes become cannibals due to boredom, meaning they kill and eat each other. This behavior begins as early as 4 weeks old. Crocodiles are capable of galloping, similar to a horse. Luckily, alligators cannot. And while we're at it, tarantulas can swim. It's extremely common after you die that there will be extreme gas buildup and you will burp after death. And sometimes dead bodies can even sit up on their own. Also, if a pregnant woman dies, the gas buildup in her body can actually forcefully push a baby out. In other words, a post-mortem baby bazooka. Hearing is the last bodily function to go after one dies, so it's very possible that the last thing you ever hear is the paramedic calling off your CPR.
This is why you should never stay in sketchy motels. In 2005, a young woman on a solo road trip across the country decided to stop for the night. The first place she sees is the Mountaintop Motel. It looked pretty cheap, but she was tired, so she said good enough. The check-in guy eyed her up and down very uncomfortably and then asked her if she was traveling alone. She ignores the question, pays for her room, and then walks. If someone offers you this, walk away. In 2016, a man was staying at his friend's cabin in the woods when he decided to go for an evening stroll. A little ways down the trail, he hears someone call out from behind his neighbor's house. He looks up and he sees this skinny guy pop out from behind the building who starts waving frantically at him to come over. Worried this guy could be in trouble, the man takes off running to assist, but when he gets close enough, the neighbor just offers him a fistful of Slim Jims and starts talking about how much he hates his wife. Sensing there was something wrong with this guy, he says no thank you to the Slim Jims and walks away. The next day, the man calls his friend who owned the cabin to ask him what the deal was with his weirdo neighbor. There was silence on the phone, and then his friend just says, "I don't have any neighbors." The police are called, and it turns out his neighbor was really some lunatic who had recently killed his wife and had been hiding out in the abandoned cabin next door. This is why you always say yes to tandoori chicken. In 2012, a high school tutor and her student stayed up so late one night studying that by the time they were done, the buses had stopped running. Without another way home, the student asked if he could stay the night at her place. Reluctantly, she agreed. When they got back to the apartment, she fell asleep on her bed and he fell asleep on a blanket next to her bed on the ground. A few hours later, she wakes up to the boy standing awkwardly in the middle of the room with a very strange look on his face. She asks him, "What's wrong?" He looks at her and says, "I'm really hungry. Let's go get some tandoori chicken." Confused, she says, "It's 2 a.m. Just get a snack in the cupboard." And he grabs her by the arm and he says, "No, we are getting tandoori chicken right now." And he yanks her from the bed. Feeling totally caught off guard by this whole situation, she goes into the hall with the boy, and as soon as the door shuts behind them, she can tell that he is terrified. He looks at her and just says, "I'm not actually hungry. When I woke up, there was someone under your bed." This is why you should always trust your gut. In the early 1970s, a college student decided to hitchhike his way home after class. A car pulls up, a man offers him a ride, and he climbs in. As soon as the car started moving, the student felt totally uneasy, like something was wrong but he couldn't quite place it. Without saying anything, he waited till the next time they slowed down and he flung the door open and ran away. 2 years later, he's flicking through TV channels when he comes across this special interview with a death row inmate. And it's just the audio recording, so he hears the interviewer ask the inmate, "Why did you remove all the door handles inside of your car?" The man just goes, "Well, the first time I tried to kill someone, I picked up a college hitchhiker who got smart at some point and jumped out of my car. So, lesson learned, remove all the door handles." When they showed his picture, the student knew immediately that he was supposed to be the first victim of John Wayne Gacy, aka the Killer Clown, who had killed over 30 men and boys in his clown room and stuffed them into his basement. This is why you should always trust your gut. In the 1970s, a young couple decided to go for a late-night hike in the woods. A couple minutes into their walk, and the man remembers thinking, something's not right. He tells his girlfriend, but they just decide to ignore it and keep going, until he steps on something that felt really soft, like it was alive. Before he has a chance to see what he stepped on, they hear all this rustling in the bushes next to them, and they bolt. Years later, that couple turns on the TV, and a death row inmate who's about to be executed is being interviewed. And they ask him, "Was there ever a time that you were almost caught red-handed?" He responded, "Yes, one time. I was in the woods, and a couple walked through, and the man actually stepped on the body of a girl I had just killed. I was hiding in the bushes just a few feet away. They didn't see me." That couple had run into one of the worst serial killers of all time, Ted Bundy.
So supposedly, this is what the fallen angel Lucifer looks like. And this is what the moon looked like on March 31st, 2020. I don't know about any of you guys, but this is scary, especially with everything going on in the world right now. Pretty cool!
Let this be a reminder that there really are monsters out there. In 2007, a woman living right near a prison in California got home late one night and went right to bed. Around midnight, she woke up to footsteps on her first floor, assumed it was her roommate, so she goes downstairs to say hi. She yells out to her roommate, who doesn't say anything, and then in walks this giant man who she doesn't recognize. She runs upstairs, jumps in her closet into the crawl space, and hides. As she's helplessly tucked away in this little crawl space, trying not to make any sound, all she hears is this giant man sprinting around her house, running into walls, flipping furniture, and screaming in frustration because he can't find her. Finally, after several hours, she slowly opens the crawl space back up, crawls out, and gets her phone off the nightstand and calls police. As she's telling the police her story, she describes the person who had broken in, and they stop her and say, "Ma'am, go back in the crawl space and stay there. We'll be there as soon as we can." It turned out a 6'11" convicted murderer had escaped the prison and was still on the loose. If you scare easily, I wouldn't watch this video. In 2013, a mine explorer found this entrance to an abandoned mine and decided to go have a look around. He decides to film his experience and upload it to his YouTube channel, where he had uploaded hundreds of other videos of him exploring mines, but he never once references the paranormal or ghosts or anything like that, until this video. As soon as he steps foot inside, he tells the camera that he has a really uneasy feeling about being there and wonders if he should even keep going, but he does. Everything seems pretty normal until he gets to a section in the mine where there's a bunch of chains hanging down from the ceiling. He hears something in the back of the tunnel, so he pulls his flashlight out and he shines it towards the back, and he sees a chain swinging, and it shouldn't be, because there's no draft and he's all alone, and you can tell he's scared by the way he starts talking. Although he's totally freaked out, he wants to know what's causing the chain to swing, so he goes farther and farther into the mine until he hears something. People whispering in every direction. He gets totally spooked and runs out. If you don't want to sleep tonight, watch the whole video. This is why you should never open your door for strangers. In 2013, a woman let her dog out to use the bathroom one more time before bed. After only a few minutes, she starts hearing scratching on her door, which is typically the sound her dog makes when he's ready to come in. But it just seemed way too soon for him to be done being outside. So she decides to look through the peephole to make sure it really is her dog. But what she sees is terrifying. A deranged-looking man is right outside her door, staring intently at her door handle, waiting for it to turn open. As she's looking in horror, unable to do anything, he starts scratching at the door as hard as he can, never leaving his gaze from the door handle. She manages to stifle a scream, she backs away and realizes her dog is still outside. So she goes to the side window, but there's no sign of her dog, and so she goes back to the door to see if maybe the man's moved. He hasn't moved, his mouth is open, and he's staring directly at the peephole. Then he turns around and walks away. With the man gone, she discovers her dog unharmed, his leash had just been cut. But that means he had a knife.
Terrifying facts about the ocean. Let's get into it. So we've explored...
Reality glitches caught on camera.
So my nanny passed away a couple of weeks ago, and my mum has been clearing out her house. Nanny has a camera installed on the inside of her house, so it just faces her living room, her front door, and her stairs. You'll see it in the next clips, but the past couple of days something really weird has happened. So no one else has a key to my nanny's house apart from my mum, so that's really important for this. So this is the first step. Here's my mum leaving my nanny's house. This is around 3:30. And she doesn't come back until the next morning, so there's nothing on the floor, there's nothing in sight, specifically at the door there's nothing left there. So my mum leaves, doesn't come back, and nobody else comes into the house. This is then the next morning. My mum is so confused because there's a gift bag left at the door. Nobody has had access to this house. The ring camera didn't pick up any motion in between my mum leaving and my mum arriving back with any person detected. So this is what was left at the door. She's so confused. She says she remembers leaving that bag upstairs.
Oh my gosh.
I gotta do this.
He's talking.
So I wasn't crazy.
No.
This bird is talking.
What the heck? That's crazy.
Yeah.
What else can it say?
I don't know. I don't even know
tweet,
what
tweet, tweet.
Tweet, tweet.
See you guys.
The bird is actually...
It is talking. I swear to God.
We have video.
Listen.
Oh! He's so cute.
Is it real?
I don't know. Is it like a robot? Like, because that's a pretty good moving robot.
What?
Why is a bird?
Yeah, say something.
Be afraid of me. Wait.
It's like saying something talk about. Look, its eyes look
Ew,
like
it just
cameras.
Wait, it just peed. It just pooed.
I know.
Did you snap back into it, bro?
Oh my gosh.
All right, we gotta go, guys. This is getting weird.
Careful, Willow.
Okay, yeah, I was scared of him. Like,
dude, get out of here. Well.
In this video, the UABird ventures drive to the woods for Halloween night. He parks the van as close to the woods as possible before heading further in on foot.
Up here for now. Unfortunately, this is the closest that we can get to the woods. We can't take the van any further, but I will be going in there on foot.
Next to the woods is an old church and cemetery that he needs to walk past to get into the woods. While he's setting up to make a latte, something unexpected happens. He barely notices a white shadow walking by in the background. A white shadow walking by in the background. Then he hears sounds nearby several times. When he looks in that direction, he sometimes sees small orb-like lights.
What's that? I've come up to that bit where the light was just shining. What? He's moved. I'm gonna have to go and check that out. What the hell?
A silhouette of a dark figure briefly appeared in the light, but this isn't the last time he sees something strange.
I swear, I keep seeing someone. Hold on. There's no one there. I swear. There was. I think I'm gonna go this way, to be honest with you. What the hell? That is a person. I'm not even joking. What the f? I can't see anything. Oh, what was that?
He was certain it was a person because he saw them turn around.
She woke up at 2 a.m. after hearing footsteps and saw her daughter smiling at the corner. A mother named Lulu describes a series of haunting events that took place last night. After hearing thumping sounds coming from her kitchen window, she decides to barricade her kids in her room. But after clearing the whole house, she didn't find anyone. The sounds would later begin to come from the side of the house. Since many unexplicable things would happen ever since they moved to that house, they went to bed. Throughout the night, her dog kept waking her up growling. But it wasn't until she heard footsteps that she looked at her cameras and saw her daughter smiling at something in the corner of the room. In the morning, she asked her who that was.
Baby, did you see something in your room? Yeah. Yeah? Was it nice? Yeah. We've always had like really weird stuff happen here ever since we moved in. I've always told my husband that there's somebody that lives upstairs, like in our attic.
A distraught mother, who had just lost her little baby girl, swears this is the spirit of her baby girl. The baby had lost its life in the garage, and that's where her spirit is captured here on security camera. It's a beautiful but heartbreaking moment for the mother.
attention, there's like rolling rain and a big orb of light.
I'm fucked up. I'm fucked up. Timmy, you ain't fucked up. But that shit's getting all but close to the moon. You see it? Yeah, I see it.
Wow. That does not look like an airplane to me. An airplane would be blinking, flashing lights or something.
Our fucked is fucked up. Our government is fucked up.
Right on, brother.
Why? Bam! What did it just hit?
Whoa.
Look at it.
What is that in front of it?
Look at the smoke rings.
I've never seen anything like that, that's for sure.
I'm a drunk ass redneck. Videoing some.
That was actually pretty crazy.
Like, what in the is that?
I don't know.
Wave.
Let me know what you think in the comments below and stay weird.
A band in Russia have caught something strange on camera, showing we are sharing this world with non-human beings. This very strange video was recorded at a banquet hall during a private party in Russia. The party had been attended by supermodels, politicians, billionaires. Basically, some of the most rich and powerful people in Russia. Popular Russian musician Sergei Narov and his band Ruble were hired to play at the event. During the event, a short power outage happened at the banquet, and the lights quickly went out. This is what the band had seen. For some reason, most of the people who were in the hall began to shine light with their eyes.
Как выступление, но что-то случилось со светом. Прекрасный момент, просто погас. Почему-то у большинства людей, которые были в зале, а там были люди совершенно такого серьезного полета, стали светиться глаза.
Ужасно, ужасно. Страшно, потому что свет погас, и вдруг эти глаза светящиеся. И вдруг эти глаза светящиеся.
This is why you shouldn't play games in the dark. A group of teenagers were having a sleepover one night when they decided to play a game where they had to move in the dark towards the camera. As the lights turn off, something inside that room makes itself known to them.
You can only move when the lights are off. You can't move when the lights are on. You have 5 moves to get to me. Are you ready? Okay. Oh, all right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 1 You have 5 moves to get to me. Oh my god.
A loud sound can be heard near the bed. Finding a piece of decor flung that hasn't fallen in a long time. But as the girls go near the area, this happens.
Did you touch that?
No, she didn't touch it.
No, that's. I don't know. Maybe it was like. Wait, what? No. Was that already
Why is that one?
Oh my god!
Oh my god! You guys!
What the hell? That was so Oh my god! What is?
Wait, I'm really scared.
Something inside the ceiling crawl space opens the door, absolutely sending the girls running in fear. By playing in the dark, could it be that these girls awoken some sort of evil entity in that room? Let me know what you think.
Alright, that's it for today's session. Thank you so much guys for showing up. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you around.